Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bravo stream. Blue and Stokes hopping over here for just one quick game as we're getting ready to jump into the third round of matches for the day here. Specifically on this stream, we've got TSM getting ready to go up against SANDBOX Gaming, and both of these teams are currently fighting for their survival. So Stokes, what do we make of this matchup getting into it? It just hasn't been the best of days so far for SANDBOX here, isn't that right?
I think you can say that for either of these squads, but we definitely have to start with the Greek tragedy, which is SANDBOX Gaming. They really have never been able to hit their stride at LAN ever since way back in the day, like 2019 SI. Ever since then, things have just not been the same. Here's a look at the group for you of those that don't really know what's been going on. And in case you haven't, Heroic actually having a big comeback yesterday. TSM and Liquid were the teams of the hour, at least for the first day, won all of their games. Then Heroic bouncing back in a very serious way, taking both of their games in 7-1 fashion. Means they only dropped 2 rounds in an entire day. Pretty crazy stuff. But now that leads us to TSM versus SANDBOX, the two teams in the bottom of the heap at the current moment. But TSM still with a considerable chance to try and make it to the main stage.
Now, some people seriously like SANDBOX is clearly like out already, right? Unfortunately, or well, I should say fortunately, they're not. They're actually still in contention. Unfortunately, though, they are just about to be knocked out here. There's plenty of ways for them to be bumped out, even just in the middle of this matchup. For instance, if they lose 3 rounds here, yeah, as you can see, they are technically still in it. As you can see, it's a 0.01% chance and a 0% chance under an overtime win, regulation loss, regular loss. That's because if they lose 3 rounds in this map, that's it. They're done. They're out.
That is...
And more importantly, too, sorry to interrupt.
You're okay.
If Heroic and TSM, with their score combined, if that equals 3 rounds or more, then they're also eliminated.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yes, it is just a bit low.
Now, I will say...
And that would only save them for this round.
I don't know about you. You've been casting esports for almost a decade. That is the lowest percentage I've ever seen on a graphic. Yeah. That is ridiculous.
And we round it up, by the way, that. So I don't actually know that for a fact, but I'm just
that would have been
funny.
Yeah, funny, haha. Definitely funny, haha. But yeah, so still the most minuscule chance possible for anyone to make it to the main stage. And if it did happen, that would be one definitely for the history books. But they're lined up against TSM, a really dominant day. You know, the first day, the second day, not so much. They ended up losing in 7-5 fashion, then 7-1 to Heroic. So looking to have a bounce back day.
Now, important to note that TSM is also currently not safe in this matchup.
Correct.
TSM could very well be eliminated via this round of games if they take a regulation loss here against SANDBOX Gaming and Heroic take a regulation win in their matchup. That locks TSM out and pretty much seals the deal for this group, meaning the other 2 teams will move forward into the playoffs.
Now, for our TSM fans, just realize that that is a large ask out of Heroic. Liquid have not dropped a single game thus far this LAN. Every single one of their victories, John, coming in regulation. They haven't even touched overtime in all 4 games.
There's also some other. I'm giving you guys a lot right now in terms of playoff contention.
You should see the list.
Yeah,
to be fair.
Yeah. I just want to make sure we get through this whole list before the game starts. Okay. Not only do we have playoff contentions, obviously playing into this one, we're at the tail end of the group, so I hope we have playoff contentions. We also have 6 invitational updates that are potentially going to be coming into play on this map. If SANDBOX is eliminated from play in this matchup, then that will mean that Eminem is going to be confirmed for SI, and alongside of that, SANDBOX will also be eliminated from SI contention themselves if they lose 6 rounds in this game.
Wow, this means quite a bit to SANDBOX, but the same can be said about TSM. They're already out for the year when it comes to SI contention, but SANDBOX still has some opportunities. They're going to kick us on over to Bank up against TSM, which, John, if you remember all the way back to the 6th Invitational this year, when TSM ended up lifting the hammer, trusting the process, as Intero said, well, they went back to Bank up against Empire, and they played extremely well after suffering a loss in the semis, getting knocked to the lower bracket because of Bank. We're back here again today to see if they can get it done up against SANDBOX Gaming.
We'll have to see if they can get the job done. We do have all 10 players in the server, so just going to be another minute or 2 away from getting things started, ladies and gentlemen. SANDBOX have a date with Destiny here now, not only for their survival in this tournament, but for their survival overall, moving into the 6th Invitational in just a few months' time. We got a nice little stat there about Bolo. Stokes, read that up for me.
Bolo's skilled player, but that is not normally. This very, very insane. They need to check him PC and game. Maybe he not cheating, but maybe he using the game deficit. And this can't seem on game screen. He needs to check up.
So just to be clear, the setup we have in this room right now, there's a very big monitor in front of us that we can see from our desk that just has the gameplay on it. But the monitor that actually has all the stuff that you guys are seeing at home,
it's on
like a pretty tiny screen below that one. So just had to get up, walk all the way up to the screen so we could actually read that text, only to read that meme. And I thought, good bait, whoever put that in there for production. Just want to give you a shout out for that one.
Actually ridiculous. Yeah, I can't believe that I've been forced into a.
Just made Stokes walks halfway around the room to read a copy pasta.
I flew across the world in order just to do that. That's really what it's come down to. But speaking of what it's coming down to, a couple of moments separate us from TSM and SANDBOX here on Bank, and it's going to be a fun one. I'm excited to see how SANDBOX can try and thwart TSM's strategy. I'm excited to see NV Taylor play again. Oh, he's been one of my favorite players throughout history. He's just such a nice guy, and you know, if you ever saw Mantis FPS play back in the day, you'd definitely be a fan as well. They also have some other interesting players and other interesting ones out on the field as well. Have Jason Bolo Doty, I'm sure you don't know who he is, on your screen right now, and the SANDBOX lineup. Also, a little funny tidbit that we were talking about yesterday in the room. You and I obviously weren't at Berlin, but SANDBOX was, and something was said about Good Boy apparently there that I had no idea about. So I walked into the green room and I'm like, okay, is it just me? Or does Good Boy look a little like Faker? And everyone was like, yeah, we were joking about that like all of Berlin. I was like, yeah, he's even got the glasses. Like, it's so crazy. Like, right when I saw him, I was like, he's got like a thinner faced Faker right there. That's dope. And actually, another cool little fun fact, he's actually the youngest player at this LAN. He's 2 weeks younger than Spoit is, actually, which that is our Berlin Major champion. Shout out to Spoit. But yeah, we're finally going to get in here for TSM versus SANDBOX. Let's get through this ban phase. It's Habana Dokkaebi. She's been getting so much play at this LAN. She's just got so much in her kit nowadays.
Absolutely the case. First ban, of course, out now for the defenders as well. Valkyrie being removed from play. Last one should end up, actually, no Azami knockout here. We're going to go towards Echo instead. It's Bank, though, so it makes perfect sense for Bank. A lot of these bans so far in this group stage, at least the ones that we've been casting, I've noticed, have been very map-specific here at this tournament so far.
Yeah, I also made a critical blunder in naming my animal because for some reason, all Siege people name their animals after
I told you not to do it.
Stuff. Well, you know, I'll be honest with you. It was originally supposed to be Echo, like EKKO from League, but we ended up spelling it the right way because I didn't want everyone to look at me and be like, you really chose a name from League. So my cat's name's Echo.
You just chose a name from Siege.
Hey, you know, and Echo's rocking with us, so I'm rocking with him. You know what I mean?
All right, well, let's see how SANDBOX will fare. Remember, SANDBOX are already at the red line as far as elimination is concerned. They cannot lose 3 rounds in this game, otherwise that will already seal the deal for their elimination. And aside from that, if TSM plus Heroic manage to get 3 rounds combined, as of course Heroic is playing on the other stream right now, that will also lock out SANDBOX from being able to make it to the playoffs.
Man, really doom and gloom today, huh?
I mean, I'm the storyline guy, you know, I gotta make sure everybody's got all the info. So.
Yeah, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed with this one.
Would you rather be like, oh, they just won this game, maybe they're still in it, and then like someone comes in 5 minutes, there's like, no, they're out, or would you rather have that info ahead of time, you know?
I think it depends on the person. I'm more of a show me the Carfax kind of guy.
Yeah, see, on the Sands, that's why I've been reading the list out.
I mean, I guess, Jonathan.
Plus, we got like a whole dedicated staff team to give us these fact points now, so.
Well, not used to this. Usually I just go over to Jesse and be like, give me numbers. Oh, my. Well, let's get into this one and see what TSM can get going on this offense. We've already got Gasher on the Ying, so I love the opener here for TSM. But past that, this is bare bones TSM strategy. We got Buck, we got Thatcher, Ash Zofia going to back that up. The mainstay soft breaches that we've been seeing for a myriad of years.
Some of you may be wondering, all right, where's the hard breach to be able to take things out? Well, thankfully, they still got plenty of that in the secondary department between Gasher and Achieved. 4 of the can openers being brought to the table here, so they still should be able to get all of the usual spots open down in the basement.
Yeah, this isn't your dad's Rainbow Six Siege, okay? This is new Rainbow Six Siege. We're in year 7 now, baby. Almost year 8, actually. God, I'm getting old. Oh, no. Well, yeah, that means we got secondary hard breach nowadays, as well as secondary EMPs. Those aren't going to be along for the ride for TSM, but they don't necessarily need them, as these hatches are going to be pretty easy access. And in fact, they'd probably want some more throwables if they had, X-ray vision. We're able to see that Sael is in fact on Rooney, which is going to give them a little bit of problem with those hatches. I think they have to take some damage or try and get rid of it through other means.
Very, very slow rolling opening around here. TSM hoping to get that aggression out through the blue stairs, but not spotting any of it here. As it's only NV Taylor leaning up towards the top, but no one on the side of SANDBOX actually going for the direct peek and potentially taking the duel against the members of TSM that should be ready and waiting for this. TSM, in the meanwhile, are getting ready to try and pop things open on the can openers, and indeed, they'll be able to chuck the first one of those down now. Second one, I believe, also had gone down onto the other opening, a bit closer towards the site itself. So that should deal with both of those, and indeed it will. Using up all 4 of the can openers here and now, however, so they will actually not have another one available to be able to deploy, of course, to the security hatch there, as well as any of the walls leading into security itself if they were going to be wanting to open those up.
All this time, all this quiet movement from TSM around the map, well, it's all been worth it. They've been getting hatches open and doing all the hard boring work that's required in Rainbow Six, getting those reinforcements busted open, claiming map control from SANDBOX, and well, looks like Merc is going to be the first contact. He was immediately jumping out of the loan office and more than likely transition down to garage. That's usually a late round play that you'll see him go for, but Merc gets taken out. Bolo gonna quickly trade that back. They'll get smoked off here for the elevator. Ying's out from Gasher as well as Bolo will go for 2. I believe he pushed through the smoke as well here. Snake trying to manage the Kiba barrier, and he does it extremely well. Static to go down. TSM, they've opened the floodgates. This plant starts here. I don't know if Sayel has an answer. He'll be able to at least deal some considerable damage to the player count, but it's going to be all up to NV Taylor and a pistol inside of Vault. He's got the shotgun in hand now, but he can't get it done. Nothing doing. It's up to Snake and his pistol instead, and he'll get the frag.
So TSM locks in their first attacking round here, taking swift control of the basement. Unfortunately, SANDBOX not able to put enough pressure on the back end of the site over towards the elevator banks as well as the garage entrance there, and as such, TSM finds a weak point to pierce through, getting themselves into the site just when time was starting to become a constraint for them as well. We were seeing them struggle a little bit with getting those hatches open because the laser gates that have been deployed over on the top of those hatches didn't necessarily have the best utility spread to be able to work with that. So I had to, once again, spread out those can openers as much as possible and did eventually open up a pathway for them to be able to sneak towards lockers.
That's a triple for Snake as well there. Bolo picking up the other 2 kills, and I really love how Snake shut down that outside annex there, right? Over on the Vault side, that would have been a very considerable rotation for SANDBOX to try and deal with the elevator, but he snapped it shut, made sure that there was no way that they could have gotten through that space, and that's really what opened things up for TSM, and specifically Bolo, that allowed him to try and get that second kill. He didn't have to worry about somebody approaching him from that side, so pretty straightforward affair from that, isn't it? He's got to worry about the hallway and the window for the actual sites, and well, when you're Bolo Jason Doty, whatever you want to call him, we call him a billion things here nowadays, well, it's probably going to work out for you, isn't it?
Certainly the case. Let's see if TSM can make the second round work for themselves as well. Players on SANDBOX starting to present their positions a lot more out and about, at least at the start of this round. They go for the open area hold this time instead of the repeat on the basement hold. A little bit too one side in the favor of TSM once they actually reach the site threshold. So SANDBOX do peel things back a little bit and go for their second site instead here. TSM just setting themselves up in fire positions if SANDBOX are going to peek out to challenge them early on. More than likely not going to be the case. Confidence has not really been flowing for SANDBOX throughout this group stage so far, so aggressive play has not been something that they can necessarily rely on to make early impact.
TSM, we saw how measured they were in the first round. They follow through on the second. The drone game already looking good, and we've got Bolo in upstairs. So they're doing 2 things, right? They got Bolo with gun in hand, and they got some drones spun up for him. Snake's gonna hop in. He was Thermite the first, or rather Thatcher the first time around. This time he's going to be on Zofia. So a better gun in his hands with the M762. Good Boy's gonna get discovered, but he is Auric, so there's a lot of transitions he can attempt here.
Spam from achieved. Fortunately, off angles. The metal bar is going to eat up the large majority of it. Static as well here. Continuing to wait for an opportunity. Both these teams doing a very tepid dance around each other at the moment. Neither one wants to be the first player to make a mistake, but you also have to try and net yourself that first kill sooner rather than later. And Achieved having a bit of a hard time locating his target now that that member of SANDBOX dashed past him again. Seems like they've gotten out of dodge for the time being. Good Boy, though. A nade going directly in his direction, but it looks like he makes it out of dodge there. As it's not cooked enough. He gets himself through the hatch, but that does also send him away from his pivotal position upstairs into the basement.
TSM's pressure forces SANDBOX back downstairs. Well, except for their setup on site. I want one glaringly obvious, though. As TSM begins working on the small office, some nice angles over into the kitchen area as well, but Good Boy's been able to transition back up the hatch that Sael's currently laying on, making things a little bit easier for him. Static also going to be down low, but he's been droned out, and unfortunately for him, he's definitely not the same character as what Good Boy has at his disposal, so he's going to be stuck down there unless he can get up a staircase successfully. TSM, they hit their mark. Static and Good Boy on the ground. TSM open the gates again.
Catching them on rotation, I believe, trying to work their way back up through main stairs to reposition themselves closer to the site. TSM lock them out and now pretty much have a free potential plant opportunity for themselves. If this smoke does not end up getting challenged, Sael, though, will be able to work his way up to the top of these main stairs and potentially cause the players on TSM to split up too much here. There we go. Arukaze also able to pick one up for SANDBOX as they battle back into the site. Gasher, though, starts to take that control right back away from the SANDBOX roster as him and Achieved pick up the response kills, leaving only Arukaze in the fight now for the 1v3. There were no winnable angles as well. Can't even really spot out the player upstairs due to the awkwardness of the angle itself. Bolo rushes back in from small to finish things off as we see another closeout from TSM.
All right, List Bearer. Round 3, I believe, right?
Yep.
What does this mean?
List Bearer? What?
List Bearer. Bring it out. Tell us what's going on.
Oh, wait.
Wait, I got to get through my papers here.
So like we said, SANDBOX is eliminated if they lose 3 rounds. That means if they drop this round here, that is it. They are out of contention for the playoffs. And if they lose 3 rounds after that as well, see we go 6-0 here, that means they're out of SI also.
And that doesn't matter if they win a round at all. If TSM gets 6 rounds, they're done for SI.
Pretty sure, the way it's been phrased to me, yeah.
Whew. That is... That's going to be a very tough pill to swallow. Not only are you knocked out of one major, but you're taken out of the most important one for the year, the one that everyone wants to attend, the one that we are hopefully going to attend in Montreal. So who knows? Very excited for that stuff in the future. TSM, though, as of right now, 2-0. They've been lighting the world on fire here. SANDBOX haven't been really able to hold a candle to them just yet. Hopefully this changes up soon. It seems like they're about to throw out everything and the kitchen sink. I think he's just going to run out here and get this drone, actually, for himself. Don't think we're going to go too far on this. A little bit of a pre-fire there. Not really going to hit anybody, obviously, as it's literally just the opening part of the round.
Just a roll of the dice.
I love the consideration there.
Sometimes you get lucky with those. We've seen that happen once or twice, where someone just goes for a random pre-fire and it just sings a headshot out. So,
well, that one right there will require someone on TSM literally being the Flash, like just faster than light. Like,
true. So we are going to see TSM continue to set themselves up. It's going to be a bit of a slow rolling round, of course, as TSM need to rely pretty heavily on those repelled angles and the intel they will get from those and the players that throw their drones in from those positions, of course, like we just saw right there. That's going to find out the banana player from SANDBOX. More likely going to reposition at least a little bit, so TSM will need a second drone in there a little bit later on in the round when they're ready to move forward here. And Merc indeed trying to peek a cheeky angle here to see if it presents anything, but not present at this point.
I forgot that you could even get up on that angle. They tried to take that away, actually, because of the other like metal sheets that they put on that side. That used to be open. You could look in towards the meeting door and things along those lines. That's just giving him a better angle. If anybody even touches the top of that stairwell, if Envy Taylor rotates to that 5 ping, he's going to die as long as Merc is there. So really having to play with that sixth sense, that voice in the back of your head telling you right and wrong. Hopefully it chooses right for SANDBOX and Envy Taylor. TSM, they found some cracks around the map. They've gotten inside the building. Static's been discovered inside of Kitchen, but Snake might be quick to the trigger. And it's actually going to be Bolo that falls first to Envy Taylor. Sael gets Gasher and SANDBOX with a great start for the first time.
3 up and running now for TSM. SANDBOX may be able to keep their run alive for just a little bit longer here. Picking up this round, of course, but it needs to be consistency from this point forward. Otherwise, it's elimination for them. And important to note, too, that if you guys have the other stream open, if Heroic has won a round at this point, that also means that SANDBOX is already... I just don't have that open in front of me, so can't confirm that for you guys, but I'll follow that up in a few moments.
Oh,
as we do see Sael getting absolutely dunked on by a nade there. Brought down very, very low as a result of that, but thankfully, he's going to be able to juice himself back. We got a dock. We didn't even talk about that yet. Sitting on Envy Taylor there, brought into the fold. Snake makes quick work of Sael anyway when he gets the direct peek into Jay.
Well, TSM have been able to crawl back into this round. SANDBOX with 2 big kills early on, but 2 straight back from our offense. MV Taylor to try and stunt growth, and he'll successfully achieve that. Merc goes down. The 3 versus 2, the 3 versus 1, achieved of all people in now via the windows, and he's on fire literally, as he'll be able to take down our Kazi. Goes for the swing. NV Taylor, good for it though, as he'll take him down, and SANDBOX will at least stop the ship for now.
First round going up on the board for them. They do find a little bit of a safety point to play on with the second floor hold. TSM, unfortunately, just having to give away too much to be able to take any significant map control connecting to the site itself. And as a result of that, SANDBOX trade their way to a win as they slowly fall back in the process, giving TSM that baiting them in, ultimately shutting them down once they're inside of the Lion's Den. Basement is up next here for SANDBOX as they'll make another attempt at this for the first time, since round number 1.
It's a good thing that SANDBOX is able to put the handbrake on the train here for TSM at the moment. TSM is one of those teams where it's like a snowball, right? They just get going down the mountain and all of a sudden you've lost a game 7-1. So, able to at least slow them up a bit. Remember, a third round for TSM meaning the most to SANDBOX. They do not want to see this go down. They'd really like to just claim victory here at 7-2, but such a tall ask for them, especially given the circumstances of their last couple days here, probably in tatters. As obviously so very close to elimination, practically already there. And for those of you that weren't here for the preamble, a 0.01% chance for them to make it to the main stage.
Let's see now as TSM let's go for a few reselects on their operators, but nothing we aren't used to seeing when it comes to these basement assaults here. It's really, of course, going to be Gasher bringing the Ying into play here for this one. It's going to be trying to blind out the hold from SANDBOX, assuming they can work their way into it this time, which they actually should have a better time of that. But note the Aruni that had been picked up before by the SANDBOX roster has actually gone away, so no more laser gates that are going to be standing in the way of TSM and their potential attempts to hard breach the setup for a security push.
Well, TSM are going to put Snake back on the Thatcher. I think this is a great choice, a great pairing, you could say, here with Gasher and Achieved in those hard breachers. Makes the hatch work a heck of a lot easier. You know what else makes rounds a lot easier, John? When you kill people. And that's what Merc's going to do. He's going to take down Good Boy, our Faker-esque type player. Not really putting it together here today. 0-4 at the current moment. Sael's been able to at least counter that out. Got the 4 kills necessary, but it's been the TSM show, all except for 1 round so far. Merc back onto the drone game here. Only 3-3 as of now. It's really been Snake that's been causing a lot of troubles here for SANDBOX. 4-2-0, at least in round 4. Slow moving past that Good Boy assault. Not really too much going on. SANDBOX trying to contest the stairwell here with Static. This could go very wrong, especially since he is on that smoke. Some hot pings coming out. I do believe there's one actually over inside of open area. There's 2 actually over in this space. Banshee will hold things up. They've got a kind of fake setup there inside of the elevator as well, which could catch TSM off guard with that Prisma in behind that. But oh my, TSM 5-2 after they pick up 2 more bodies. SANDBOX, a lot of time on the clock for TSM, and they have to try and find a way to get around it.
Yeah, still over a minute to go, so you can bet TSM are going to be relying pretty heavily on the drone intel. In fact, Merc already working his way down there with his. We had another one in the area just about a minute ago from another player as well, so definitely wanting to double and triple check this before they commit to it. As in a 5v2 scenario, there's not a lot that can throw this off. However, a haphazard push without properly checking the angles, that is one way things could fall by the wayside. If TSM end up shuffling all into security door, for example, they want to avoid those types of pitfalls. So they'll take the rest of this round very, very cautiously. Not too cautiously, of course. They only have 38 seconds remaining, so they do need to make this push sooner rather than later. But certainly taking their liberties with it, given the extra time they have now because of the inherent player advantage. You're seeing this come to bear here. No panic at all being shown by these members on TSM, knowing they only need to knock out these 2 targets on the inside. Artokaze will be the one standing in the way, but it seems like Achieve just got the intel, drops down, he doesn't even realize it. Artokaze down for the count already, just up on Static now for the 1v5. Needs to clutch this out, otherwise, there we go, in the 1-1 trade, TSM locks in a 3rd round and locks out SANDBOX from the playoffs.
Well, might as well call it a flawless round there for TSM as Bolo trades out the last kill. TSM will thwart SANDBOX plans of trying to pull this one from practically dust, from the mud, but it won't happen. TSM getting that third round and obviously looking to take it one step further. They are one step closer to closing out this game as a whole. When they hit that 6th round, they could be in some serious trouble.
This is also good news for fans of another team at home.
What team would that be?
M&M.
Oh.
Congrats, you just qualified for SI.
Oh my, no way. Marshmallows and Molotovs?
Yep. If SANDBOX is eliminated from play, then M&M is confirmed for SI. That means they are now in.
I really just want to get like a massive Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and just like gift it to them as like an organization. Just a good Ghostbusters meme.
It's good sponsorship opportunity.
It would be. It would be. Yeah, absolutely.
Where's the Stay Puft marketing team when you need them?
It's very true. It's very true. But you know what else is true? TSM, pretty dominant showcase here so far, huh?
Absolutely the case. Shutting things down so far in the 4 rounds that we have played out. SANDBOX only able to resist things in their upstairs hold, where TSM just had a little bit too complex of a clear to be able to work things for. SANDBOX able to win that one out for themselves. But on the more well-played sites, this is a very nice drone position too that spotted out Static. I'm not even sure if he caught this as of yet. He's going to hear that barricade opening, and he'll play this smart, backing away from the situation. The nade comes in, but obviously a little bit too late, and the angle, I think, would have not ended up impacting him anyway from his previous position. But this drone is still here. He still hasn't noticed this thing or shot it out.
Indeed.
He's realized it now, though, I think. Yeah, so the drone is just back, but there we go. It took him a good, like, 30 seconds to realize this thing was here. But
yeah, he's going to be able to hold on to archives, at least for now. He's going to be able to get back on cam. He's got a bulletproof up on the top of square as well. Snake attempting to get a drone back in here and assist TSM with this info clear. Static's going to be able to at least EMP 1. That's a new thing that was implemented here for bulletproofs over this last year. Makes them a little bit just stronger secondary utility, more of a reason to take them past their info game. Bolo's going to enter on the top floor again, and he's got a kill. Saw that one coming from a mile away. Sael just not able to outwit Bolo. That first bullet accuracy from this man, disgusting. And he just reads the entire defense like an open book. Harukaze goes down. Good boy has to go down the next level as well as TSM knocks him down a peg.
Good boy, and Envy Taylor now going to be positioned out here, trying to play this one out with the small amount of map control that they have left for themselves here, and even that is not a lot to play into. Good boy, and Envy Taylor trying to weight this one down, trying to waste as much time as possible. There's another drone sitting in the back of open area that's gone unnoticed here as well. Just giving over that free intel. They know about this hop, and there we go. Instant denial from Achieve. SANDBOX. Bolo actually accidentally clipping off Merc's head, I think, as he tries to work his way, because we saw that aggro peek come out from the last member alive on SANDBOX as well. Not a huge deal at the end of the day, as they still have complete control over the round. Number 4, locked in there for TSM.
I feel like Oryx actively putting his head in a guillotine, huh? Just hops up that thing and it's lopped off. TSM 4 rounds. SANDBOX only really looking confident in 1. Past that, it really has been the TSM show. They've been running amok of things. Bolo, Merc, Snake. It's been all across the board here. I think the person we've seen the least out of is Gasher, by my feeling, and yes, it will be. But obviously, Gasher's got a lot to do. He's been running the majority of the hard breach, trying to set things up, especially when it comes to that execute time. If you guys caught it when they were working things in from the server, he was talking quite a bit, and that's what you want out of your hard breach. They have to dictate what is happening when it comes to that time. Most of the time, the IGLs are usually in like that flex position where they can try and pick up a lot of different operators and stuff like that, and when it gets down to your hard breach doing their job, you really want somebody that's vocal. Gasher doing a fantastic job at that.
All right, so SANDBOX still trying to fight for whatever they can inside of this matchup. TSM is well inching closer and closer to not only knocking SANDBOX out of playoffs, which they've already accomplished, but also knocking them out from SI. Keep in mind that that is still a play contention here too. If SANDBOX was able to bring this one back and win this in regulation without TSM winning 6 rounds, which that kind of goes hand in hand with winning in regulation, of course, then they are going to be able to potentially preserve their SI spot. However, if TSM goes the full distance and picks up at least that 6th round, then SANDBOX indeed will be eliminated from the 6 Invitational as well. And also, SANDBOX will be unable to deny TSM from being exited from this group.
Well, mirror strategy upstairs, one that we really never ever see. There's going to be one facing in from the janitor closet, or papers, if that's what you guys call it. There's also one inside of the CEO office that's facing in towards another region, I do believe. Either that or it's faced in towards that. But either way, you really got to worry about the windows towards this northern side that Merc's playing on when it comes to things like this. That's why that one mirror is faced in towards Bolo, more than likely be peeking here in a moment. Actually, he's is on the other side of windows, so might make it a little bit easier for him. And, well, Static's going to be able to at least get the drones out initially here. He's going to be able to get rid of the mute jammers, though, making things a tad bit easier for TSM's assault later on. Already got a good foothold on the base floor as well, and this is going to shore up the rotations from SANDBOX. They're not going to be able to use this mid floor as much as they wanted to before. And funny enough, Sael's actually going to keep his face in that angle, but it works out for him this time. Severely damaging achieved. A couple bullets away from death at the moment.
Achieve going low, but really the only player in this game that has suffered any damage so far. Bolo, a much more pivotal one. This is where we saw TSM kind of fall by the wayside on the previous round. The inability to make these repels have impact against the SANDBOX hold, causing problems for TSM's entries into areas like J as well here. Going to try to put some more presence on the inside of Square as well now. Try and start pinching out this site. Merc as well, patiently waiting for the banana peak to come in. He has the right idea behind this. There's definitely a player in that area. You can see that as we just go over to Good Boy's position a second ago, but the actual angle needing to be lined up is going to be tough to find, as now Snake becomes the first to go down here. Arokaze catching him out, and Good Boy actually turning the tables onto Bolo, knocking him out instead.
Yes, indeed. Frag grenade out, almost lands on Sael's doorstep, but he's able to skirt that and stay alive. 40 seconds to TSM's name. A lot to do, a lot to see. It starts with this kill up against Sael, but hasn't come yet. Achieved will go down. Might have been slamming a magazine there. Either way, not able to send bullets down range and loses his life. Loses his lunch and loses the round. SANDBOX with a flawless one, but they probably wanted that a couple rounds ago. It'll keep him in this one, though. Keep this scoreline decently close. We're going to switch sides here as TSM will take that half 4-2.
Of course, as we switch those sides, SANDBOX walk away with their 2 consecutive victories on the upstairs site. But aside from that, it is all TSM all day. Just a little bit of a weaker attack, it seems, for TSM on that site, not having the best read into it. And SANDBOX as well, having a lot more confidence to play from the inside of their site setup when compared to the other 2 rounds. Unfortunately, parts of that site setup had fallen apart on most of the other site holds, preventing them from being so aggressive. As such, SANDBOX had a much easier time actually contending against the aggression from TSM on the 2 holds upstairs.
TSM's going to send it into the basement for their very first defense as suspected, and I'm sure all of you were suspecting this as well as the opener. It's one that has stood the test of time when it comes to Bank, even past all of the changes. Always a solid place to play things like a turtle strategy or things along those lines, but I don't believe that that is what TSM will be going for here, especially with Merc on Oryx. This is one where he really likes to get quite active, loves this op. They throw it in every once in a while, and it's a good wrench to throw in, right?
Yeah, absolutely the case. Let's see if this is going to potentially trip up the SANDBOX players in the late round more than anything here. Forcing them, of course, to be able to fire into those and take out those EDDs and slow down their overall take pacing as well once they notice that he is in play. That will potentially cause some big problems, especially into the late round where we oftentimes see those EDDs actually blow up and in some cases knock out a player from the attacking roster. So Static going to continue to move himself forward. He knows the bulletproof, hidden a little bit deeper in garage, so chucks down the shield a bit prematurely. In the event there's going to be a peek, more than likely would not be the case now because of the fact that we do end up with that shield deployed. But Gasher tries to make it work. Now he's got the intel that player's moving forward again. However, not a whole lot you can do about it. Meanwhile, we've got another shield push happening on the other side of the equation as well. The Monty being played by Envy Taylor, trying to take control of server.
All right, Snake, you're going to have to deal with the Monty here. Smoke positioned in server. A solid location. Had a Goyo canister there, and he'll burn it. Doesn't have anything extra to try and thwart any more plans, at least when it comes to those. He does have those smoke babes, though, and that's what we're really looking for. NB Taylor's going to rotate away because he has 0 assistance here. All he'd really be doing is just allowing Merc to get this kill more than likely. He was more than likely looking for the shield bash with that dash, right? Knock him down on his booty, take him out. That's one of the main counters that we've seen to Monty, at least in the last couple of years with the addition of Oryx. Static trying to do his best, trying to do his due diligence, work up this garage. Hasn't worked out the greatest for him just yet, although he hasn't taken too much damage, he's just taken some time. It's a slow burn here for round 7.
Gasher continuing to slowly lurk back up to the top, waiting to see if SANDBOX have established any presence on their own. back over by the main stairs position, and they have not. So TSM is free to weigh this aggression out however they would like to, but look at this secret insertion going on now for Good Boy. He's worked himself into the enemy's nest without them having an idea, and Sahel also getting a good entry. This will be an amazing distraction now. Good Boy more than likely free to frag out here unless they suspect him. Good Boy, though, going to get caught out. Polo able to respond to things as well, but Arukaze trading it back, keeping us even. Polo, though, making up the big difference right now as he strikes true to take down Static and sends the player advantage back into TSM's favor. Arukaze and Envy Taylor now all that is left in play, and Arukaze already committed to the basement with the case in hand as well. Envy not really going to be able to support things as he's boxed out behind a Molotov, so that's it. Envy, unless you could give us an absolutely incredible clutch from a 1v3 on a Montaigne, which, let's be real about it, it's probably not going to happen. And this round will also go to TSM, and they'll lock in their 5th.
Got a feel for Envy Taylor on this round right here. He, I'm not even lying, spent the entirety of the round
just an extra attack pause now.
Server. That's all he did the entire round. He clambered down that ladder, messed around with that, messed around with Snake over in the corner. They popped a Goyo canister. He's like, all right, I'm going to leave. And then he came back like 45 seconds later and then just ended up getting locked out again because of the other Goyo canister. It's just really sad tale. And, well, for the rest of SANDBOX, one that they really wish they could get back there because Arukaze did so much, especially off the back of Good Boy. He made the entry, didn't get the kill, but Arukaze surely did. TSM able to claim the round, though, even past all of that. Fantastic utility across the board is what saves their hide.
TSM now just 2 rounds to go and 1 more round away from knocking SANDBOX out of the SI contention as well here. An unfortunate day indeed for SANDBOX. They just cannot seem to hit the ground running with either their attacks or the defenses that have been played out so far. Only 1 round deep in the attacks, of course, so a little bit more room potentially for Redemption to show up. But it is looking more and more like we are heading toward an eventuality of TSM closing down this game in relatively quick fashion. It's all on SANDBOX to change our expectations, but no sign of a pause showing up for this team either. It seems like they're moving full steam ahead with the current strategy, and unfortunately, that strategy has just not worked.
A lot of change-ups here from SANDBOX. Gonna bring the Lion in. Good Boy was trying to switch out some offs with him earlier. Static also going to adopt the Nomad in as well. Merc trying to end things early with that spawn peek coming in from top square, but nothing to it. SANDBOX did not want to try and adopt that angle. Instead, they dropped immediately down the ladder. They're trying to get some presence down low in server early on. This is something that we saw Achieve do pretty often on their offensive side, and one that is the hallmark of the map that is Bank.
Envy continuing to creep forward here now, having cleared out the initial positions in the basement. Not like that's going to be too much trouble given the site that we play into here, which is the top end. A little bit more work going to be done, of course, as a link up with some of the other members on his team, having cleared out the basement and made sure there's not going to be any late round shenanigans coming up through blue. Could still potentially see it, is the thing. We've got TSM still with full control over main stairs. They're going to keep that control as they take the fight against SANDBOX. They try to work their way out directly from Electrical. It's set directly into a pinch here. Arukaze with 1 trade back in his team's favor, but that is it. Mark has already shut down Static, and now it's just him on rappel upstairs, only catching a player from TSM more than likely because they weren't aware of his position, and now that element of surprise is gone. Full lock onto him, and he's not even in the building anymore, so this round pretty much over, and so are the chances for SANDBOX to go to SI.
You said it, John. You said it right there. And a very sore strategy is really all I can say. I don't want to beat them up too much. They're going to do that themselves. So, yeah, just not really what I expected out of a round where, you know, it just carries so much weight behind it. I don't think a rush into the defensive setup is at all what you should.
It's a choke point. Like, it's just, you need another angle there.
You're just asking to get shot. I don't really know what any brain cells were being considered inside of that. Is just very silly. But SANDBOX, I guess they wanted to test TSM. That's the only way that I could really see that working out. But, I mean, you surely tested them. How'd that work?
Well, unfortunately, they passed the test, so TSM more than ready for the challenge over the main door. Merc as well, leaving no prisoners alive. The second he spots his head, here he is on the replay, just immediately gone. Even I didn't see his head right there.
Not leaving a doubt, are they?
TSM, just 1 more round to go here, and there's not much of a reason that we see any delay showing up for this round.
Yeah, I feel for SANDBOX for this one. I mean, it is very stressful walking into a day, not knowing really what the plan for your future is, at least for one major, but then you also have to consider SI all in the same series. it's a lot of weight, man. It is. So I really feel for SANDBOX. My heart goes out to our South Korean brethren. I really hope that they can bounce back down the line and do something with this roster. But as of now, TSM exploiting them to the nth degree. SANDBOX not able to get really anything over on TSM. You know, some of the rounds they were able to find some semblance of success, and obviously they're able to muster at least 2, but I don't really see it getting past this moment.
This does also, of course, mean plenty of good news for the TSM fans at home. TSM are safe for the time being with this outright, more than likely, regulation victory they're going to be able to get over SANDBOX. That keeps them in contention for play here. As you can see, they are currently in 3rd place. This will help to keep them up and up with the other 2 teams in front of them, so they still have a chance to be able to push their way out of Group B, pending the results, of course, of the last round of games a little bit later on today. Let's pay attention, of course, to SANDBOX's play here as they try to keep themselves in this, what needs to be 4 perfect rounds from this point forward, and that just takes us to overtime.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, some round of applause in the chat, whatever platform you're using for SANDBOX. This is possibly the last round that we get to see out of them here at this event. TSM have the opportunity here. Take it away. 6-2 here. The bank pick as well up against TSM. I just really didn't like that when we saw that come through. I did not trust it in the slightest, and I guess that inkling that I had definitely ended up going the way that we all thought here. TSM, once again, really getting in the way of SANDBOX's plans. They do their due diligence this time, I will say that. They drone out a lot of stuff, but it really doesn't matter to TSM. They have executioners across the board for this roster. If you put a pixel of someone's head inside of a window, it's more than likely going to get shot off, and we've been seeing it time and time again here. Is Merc going to come flying out the top of Square?
Probably not after that flash.
The same exact thing. I'm sure if that flash didn't get him,
He might have, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, at this point, right? Like, TSM is such a healthy cushion, too. Even if this round is chucked for some silly reasons, it's not going to be too much of a lost round overall for TSM here. They can easily rebound for it in a future round as see 6-2. They've got quite the lead going on against SANDBOX here, and they've been very one-sided rounds apart from that also. SANDBOX still trying their best to play this one out, but it's them that needs to be aggressive sooner rather than later here. Envy Taylor completely detached from Arukaze once again, who is holding top square. TSM just stalwart in their current positions. They are given absolutely zero reason to move out from them, even though they are perfectly within their rights to get hyper-aggressive at this point, just not giving SANDBOX an inch. TSM want to pad the stats as much as possible, and there's good reason behind that from TSM too, when you consider the fact that they are not secured into the playoffs as of yet. They do need to keep their round differential in a very healthy place in the event of any tiebreakers between them and a second-place team in this group. And there we go, Bolo locking it out with the 2 final kills and giving us a very quick GG in the favor of TSM.
Well, that was a TSM show right there. 7-2 dub on Bank. Not very much to say about SANDBOX's showing there. A sad tale, one that we're not really going to want to revisit in the future, one that they're surely going to want to forget, but I don't know how well that will work for them. We're going to send it over to a quick break, folks, after TSM's victory.
I'm Nicholas Morton, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a 2-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do you do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position, that is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be breaking down the most recent game we just saw between TSM and SANDBOX, sealing in the elimination, unfortunately, of SANDBOX, not only from this tournament, but from their SI run as well. We will not be seeing them at SI 2023, as unfortunately they have placed too low here in terms of SI points that they would have gained to be able to stay inside of the teams that will be invited directly to that event. And of course, still at the bottom of this group with 0 points as well, means they are done and dusted as far as the Jönköping Major is concerned. TSM, however, still in the fight, still in the race, but definitely needed to keep this type of play alive here for the final round of games, as they'll still need to be able to eclipse the second place team on that final round.
Yeah, I think we all had TSM favored coming into this one. I don't know if we all saw it as a straight-up 7-2, but as soon as we saw Bank pop up, I saw this definitely in the cards, and, well, that's what came to fruition. TSM, they got a lot of special players on their team, but the two that stood at the top of the mountain when it came to the frags were Merc and Bolo, one that has been a TSM hallmark for some years now, especially earlier on this year when they ended up lifting that hammer.
Yeah, I mean, once again, as we got closer towards the end of the game as well, you could really tell that SANDBOX was just kind of not really in it, like we saw with that last push coming in through electrical there over towards open area. They just are kind of trying to send it in there, trying to throw anything at the wall and see if it would stick, and unfortunately nothing really was at the end of the day. TSM just way too on top of their game for this matchup. They knew what this matchup went, so they weren't pulling any punches here. Like I said, towards the tail end of the game, they probably wanted as large of a spread between them and SANDBOX's score as possible so they could increase their round differential in the event of any tiebreakers between them and the other two games.
All right, let's get the match summary up on your screen so you can see what we just saw, some of the stats around, and what Merc and Bolo were able to achieve. And let me tell you, it was quite a bit. Just look at these costs, 387.5s and 262.5s. Only 2 players on SANDBOX able to even get close to that. Now it's Arkazi and Sael. Both of them playing pretty considerable in comparison to their teammates, which were pretty lackluster across the board, especially with that last push there for TSM's 6th round, SANDBOX's last opportunity in that one to try and stave off elimination from SI. But like you said, they just send it right into open area, kind of a boneheaded play, and they get immediately punished by the defensive setup from TSM. They walk right into the crossfire and are decimated for it.
Overall, this matchup proves itself as well to be a nice little confidence boost to TSM. I've been mentioning this quite a few times now, but keep in mind, of course, we still have the final round of games to go for this group in Group B. TSM will need to be on top of their game to be able to still qualify for the playoffs. So having a matchup like that where everyone is hitting their shots, it just seems like you cannot be stopped. You're walking through these offensive attacks. It's got to feel good. It's got to give you a lot of confidence as you get ready for that next matchup, which is going to be against, obviously, a much tougher opponent.
Yes, indeed. And for SANDBOX, they do have a game later on today, but really doesn't matter for them. This is the last one that truly mattered. So the wind fully out of their sails for the entire year, practically just awaiting flying home now.
Yep, they're just going to be playing spoiler essentially to some other teams, and we'll have further updates on that. Whoever's going to be the casting pair will update you guys. Let's go and take a look at the actual group standings. It's already pretty clear at this point, but we'll review it one final time as Team Liquid well locked in, I believe, to first place at this point. Don't think that there's any chance of another team to catch them. At the same time, it looks like Heroic, if I'm reading this correctly, lost their game that was going on over on the other stream, and that means that TSM now takes charge, moves ahead by 3 points past Heroic. If that is indeed going to be the score for this round, TSM now in a much better position to try and lock things in when we get to the final round of matches.
Team Liquid picked up Lagonis in September. They show up to this event and they haven't dropped a game since. They haven't even let it go to overtime, which is truly impressive, especially with Heroic getting off their games yesterday. They only dropped 2 rounds in the entirety of yesterday. They show up trying to take it to Liquid again, but it doesn't work out. They lose it in regulation. Team Liquid locking out first place in Group B.
That does not mean that Heroic is under threat of elimination, pending the result more than likely from TSM in the next matchup. If TSM is able to win it outright, should be impossible for Heroic to catch up to them, and that means that TSM will be moving through as the second place team. But if both teams end up, we see a TSM loss in the next game and Heroic wins it outright, then we'll end up in a tie situation there, as both teams will have around 9 points. That can make things a little bit spicy, but we'll have further updates on that if that ends up happening, of course, as we still have plenty more games to go before we get to that point. Short break, ladies and gentlemen. When we do come back, well, the next game ready to rock and roll here on the Bravo stream of the Six Jönköping Major.